The arrest on planet Varnak. Jake Carter ran through the thick alien jungle, his breath fast and his heart pounding. Every step he took made the pain in his leg worse. But he didn't stop. The trees here were tall and glowing, their leaves shining like blue fireflies. Strange animal sounds echoed around him. But Jake only cared about one thing: getting away. Behind him, heavy footsteps shook the ground. They were getting closer. Human, a deep voice roared. Stop running. Jake didn't listen. He pushed past thick vines, his clothes torn and muddy. He had to escape. He didn't kill anyone. They were blaming him for something he didn't do. All he wanted was to find a way off this planet and go home. Suddenly, something flew through the air. A sharp metal net. Before Jake could move, it wrapped around him and sent a shock through his body. He screamed and fell to the ground, unable to move. The pain made his vision blur. A shadow moved over him, tall, wide, and powerful. The alien sheriff stood above him. Roltak. His skin was gray with dark stripes, and his armor looked like it was made from the bones of giant beasts. His eyes glowed yellow. You are under arrest, human, Roltak said coldly. You killed our ambassador. You will pay. Jake coughed, trying to catch his breath. I didn't. I swear. I was set up. Roltak ignored his words. He pressed a button on his wrist device, and a small spaceship rose through the trees behind him, hovering quietly above the ground. It had sharp wings and a cage inside for prisoners. You will answer to the High Court, the sheriff said. Your words mean nothing here. Please, Jake said, his voice shaking. Someone wanted me to take the blame. I didn't even know your ambassador. But Roltak didn't care. He lifted Jake like a sack of grain and carried him to the ship. Jake could see the sky through the trees now. Green clouds, 2 suns, and a strange, silent wind moving the jungle. As they reached the ship, a deep rumble shook the ground. The sheriff stopped. Another rumble came, louder this time. Earthquake, Jake whispered. Roltak looked around, tense. No, something worse. The ground split open beneath them. With a loud crack, the jungle floor collapsed. The spaceship tilted, falling sideways into the hole. Trees were sucked down. Animals screamed and ran. And then Jake and Roltak fell, too. They tumbled through darkness, crashing through roots and dirt. The net around Jake broke apart. The sheriff hit the ground hard nearby, his body shaking from the impact. Jake groaned, opening his eyes. He wasn't dead. But he wasn't on the surface anymore either. Soft glowing plants surrounded him. The air was warmer down here. Strange purple vines moved slowly on their own. Jake sat up, coughing dirt from his lungs. Roltak groaned, trying to stand. His leg was bent the wrong way. Don't move, Jake said, crawling over. You're hurt. The sheriff growled. Don't touch me. Look around, Jake said. We're trapped underground. Your ship is gone. Your gear is gone. And I'm the only one not injured. Roltak looked around slowly. Everything was glowing. The hole above them was far away now, too far to climb. And no signal came through his broken wrist device. No one's coming for us, Jake said. If we don't work together, we'll die down here. Roltak looked at him, silent. His pride was strong, but so was the pain in his leg. Jake stood up, slowly. I'm not your enemy. Something bigger is going on here. Above them, the jungle closed slowly, vines covering the sky. And below, something else moved in the shadows, trapped below the jungle floor. For a long time, there was only silence. Jake sat beside a giant glowing root, staring into the strange world beneath the surface of planet Varnak. The air was thick and wet. The underground jungle was alive, but not loud like the one above. Here, the sounds were softer, whispers, rustles, strange breathing in the dark. Beside him, Sheriff Roltak lay unconscious. His armored leg was bent, the sharp edge of a rock cutting through one side of it. His breathing was slow but steady. Even in pain, he looked dangerous. His chest moved up and down like a mountain shifting. Jake looked up again. The hole they fell through was barely visible now, a faint patch of light far above the glowing vines. Thick branches and dust had already begun to cover it. The way out was gone. He stood, still sore from the electric net and the fall. He limped around the edge of the pit, trying to find any sign of help. Anything at all. No signal, no gear, no weapons, nothing. But there was one thing: life. This underground jungle was alive in a way Jake had never seen. Giant mushrooms pulsed softly like hearts. Vines moved on their own, reaching toward heat. Flowers opened and closed like blinking eyes, and somewhere deeper, a soft growl echoed, followed by more silence. Jake shivered. After a while, the sheriff groaned. He opened one eye, then the other. "What happened?" Raltak asked, his voice thick. "Ground gave way," Jake replied. "Your ship's gone. We fell into some kind of lower jungle." Raltak tried to sit up, then gasped and fell back. "Your leg's broken," Jake said. "Badly." "Don't touch me," the sheriff growled. "Fine," Jake said, holding up his hands. "But if you don't let me help, you'll bleed out or starve, and I'm not strong enough to carry you." Raltak looked at him, his yellow eyes narrowing. Then, finally, he nodded once. "Do it quickly." Jake tore strips of cloth from his own shirt and used pieces of Ral's armor to make a brace. It wasn't perfect, but it would hold. He worked quietly, focused. He didn't want to think about the fact that he was helping the same alien who arrested him just hours ago. When he finished, he handed Raltak a piece of glowing root. "This seems edible. I watched some creatures eat it." Raltak sniffed it, then bit off a piece. His sharp teeth crunched through it like bone. "Sweet," he said. "Odd." Jake sat down beside him. "So, what now?" The sheriff didn't answer. Instead, he looked out across the glowing jungle. In the distance, they could see a faint path where broken roots and dirt had formed a slope. Not a full escape route, but maybe a way deeper inside. "We move," Raltak said. "Find high ground. Signal help." "With what?" Jake asked. "Your wrist thing is busted. No signal can reach through all this." Raltak looked at his arm. Sparks still flickered from the broken device. He let out a low growl and smashed it against a rock. "You're really good at smashing things," Jake said. The sheriff gave him a cold look. "And you're good at talking." "Well, I'm human," Jake replied. "Talking's our superpower." They both looked into the distance again. A strange glowing insect the size of a football buzzed past them. It flew in circles, then vanished into the trees. "We can't stay here," Jake said. "No," Raltak agreed. "This place watches." They began moving slowly, Jake helping the sheriff walk. The forest was quiet at first. Then they started to hear sounds, rattles, clicks, whispers. Suddenly, a thick vine moved under Jake's foot. It wrapped around his ankle and pulled. "Ah!" Jake shouted, falling backward. Raltak pulled a sharp blade from his belt and slashed the vine in one quick motion. It hissed and pulled back like a snake. Jake got to his feet, panting. "Thanks. We're being tested," Raltak said. "This jungle is alive, not just with plants, but something else." "Like what?" The sheriff looked around. "A mind. A will." They kept moving, more careful now. They crossed a shallow stream where the water was warm and smelled like iron. Strange fish with glowing eyes watched them from below. After some time, they reached a wide clearing. In the middle was a stone circle, clearly not natural. "What is that?" Jake whispered. Raltak stared at it. Ancient, forgotten. As they approached, the stones began to glow. Symbols appeared, alien letters, old and faded. Jake stepped closer and reached out. His fingers brushed one of the symbols. A loud hum filled the air. The ground shook. Lights flashed across the stone floor. Suddenly, a hidden path opened, leading even deeper into the underground world. Raltak stared at him. "You activated it." Jake looked confused. "How?" "I don't know," the sheriff said. "But this place, it responds to you." Before Jake could answer, the growl returned. Louder now. Closer. They turned. Glowing eyes watched them from the trees. And then, from the darkness, something big stepped forward. Not animal, not plant. Something in between. Something hunting. Hunters in the dark. The creature stepped into the glowing light. Its body was half hidden by vines and shadows, but Jake saw enough. It was taller than Raltak, with 6 legs and a long tail made of bone-like plates. Its skin was dark green, with patches that changed color as it moved. Its eyes were bright blue, cold and focused. It wasn't alone. 2 more appeared behind it. One climbed along the trees. Another slithered from the tall grass, its body covered in thin, sharp blades that clicked as it moved. Jake froze. "Don't run," Raltak said quietly. "They hunt fear." "Great," Jake whispered back. "And I'm a walking panic attack." The 3 creatures circled the stone platform, moving slowly. They didn't attack right away. They were studying, waiting. "What are they?" Jake asked. "Predators," Raltak said, holding his blade. "Native to Varnuk, thought to be extinct." "Well, they're not," Jake replied. "And we're not armed enough for this." Raltak tightened his grip. "Then we use our minds." Jake looked around the platform. Something about the stones, the glowing symbols. They weren't just old carvings. They were tech. Ancient alien tech. One of the creatures stepped forward, growling. Raltak threw a sharp piece of rock at it. It hit the beast's shoulder, making it stop. The creature hissed, but didn't charge. Instead, it began walking sideways, like it was pushing them toward something. "They're hurting us," Jake realized. "Toward the path we opened." "A trap," Raltak growled. "They want us inside. No escape." "Maybe," Jake said, his eyes darting between the stones. "Or maybe they're protecting something." "What do you mean?" "What if they live down there?" Jake replied. "What if we activated something that doesn't belong to us?" Another growl came, closer this time. "Talk less. Move fast," Raltak said. They backed toward the open path. The stone floor beneath them hummed again, and the tunnel lit up with dim blue lights. The creatures didn't follow them immediately. They waited at the edge, growling low. "They're not afraid of us," Jake whispered, "but they're afraid of what's down here." Raltak said nothing. His face was tense. His injured leg was slowing him down, but he didn't complain. Jake kept close, helping him when needed. They entered the tunnel. It closed behind them. Not with a door, with roots. Living roots moved over the entrance like a mouth sealing shut. Now they were trapped again, this time deeper underground. "Great," Jake said, from one cage to another. "Keep moving," Raltak said. The tunnel was narrow but smooth. The walls were made of stone and metal, mixed together. Vines grew along the ceiling, glowing softly. Strange humming sounds echoed from deep within. As they walked, the walls showed carvings, old stories and pictures. Jake pointed. "Look, that's a human, I think." Raltak stopped. One of the carvings showed a tall figure with 2 eyes, no fur, and a strange symbol above its head, similar to the one Jake touched earlier. Other figures, aliens with many arms and long faces, were kneeling before the human figure. "Your people have been here before," Raltak said slowly. "But how? Earth didn't even have space travel until a few centuries ago." "Or maybe you forgot," Raltak said. "Maybe your past is longer than you think." They'd walked deeper. The tunnel opened into a wide room, shaped like a dome. The walls glowed brighter here. At the center was a pool of still water, so clear it looked like glass. Suddenly, A noise echoed through the chamber. Click, click, click. The hunters were above them now, claws tapping on the ceiling. Jake and Raltak looked up. The creatures had found another way in. One dropped from the ceiling. Jake pushed Raltak aside as it landed between them. Its mouth opened wide, 4 sharp jaws snapping. Raltak roared and swung his blade, cutting across the creature's chest. Black blood sprayed. The creature screamed and leaped back. Another one dropped from the wall. Jake grabbed a sharp metal rod from the floor and swung. It hit the creature's leg, making it stumble. They ran toward the far end of the room, but vines blocked the way. "No way out," Jake shouted. "We make one," Raltak said. He grabbed the rod from Jake and jammed it into a glowing part of the wall. The symbols flared bright red. Then everything shook. A hidden door opened, but not a normal door. It was more like a shift in reality. The wall turned transparent, revealing a space beyond filled with light and machines. They ran through it just as the creatures lunged. The wall closed again, sealing the beasts outside. Jake fell to the floor, panting. Raltak dropped beside him, bleeding from a cut on his arm. They were safe, for now. They looked around. The room they had entered was clean, advanced. It didn't look like the jungle or the ruins. It looked like a lab. In the center was a tall platform with a chair. The chair had wires, lights, and symbols carved all over it. And on the wall behind it, more carvings of human shapes. "What is this place?" Jake whispered. Raltak looked at him, his voice low. "A throne room," he said. "For what?" Raltak didn't answer. Because just then, the symbols lit up again, and Jake felt something deep in his chest. Something calling him. The secret of the ancients. The lights inside the strange room flickered softly, like stars trying to breathe. Jake stood in front of the chair, the one that looked like it was built for something more than sitting. Wires curled around it like roots. Symbols carved deep into its surface glowed when he stepped near. The air was warm, full of energy that made his skin buzz. He wasn't sure why, but the chair called to him. "Don't touch it," Raltak warned. His voice was sharper than before. "This is sacred, old, dangerous. But it's reacting to me," Jake replied. "Look." As Jake raised his hand, one of the symbols on the wall flared to life. A beam of light shot across the room, and a figure appeared, a hologram. It was a human. Not just any human, but tall, wearing flowing robes and metal rings around his arms. His hair was long, silver, and braided. His eyes were glowing white. "That's impossible," Raltak whispered. "Your kind never had contact with ancient Farnokians." The hologram spoke in a strange, echoing voice. "If you are seeing this, it means the jungle has chosen you. You are the carrier, the key, the one who must awaken what sleeps." Jake stepped back. "What does that mean?" The image continued. "Long ago, before memory was written in stars, humans came to this planet, not to conquer, but to plant something. A guardian, a gift, something alive." The image shifted. It showed humans standing around a giant tree, its roots reaching through the planet. Vines spread in every direction, touching oceans, mountains, and sky. "We gave life to Varnoxfart," the hologram said. "But to protect it, we vanished. Now the time has come for a new guardian." The image faded. Silence filled the room. Jake turned slowly to Raltak, who looked completely stunned. "You knew nothing about this?" Jake asked. Raltak shook his head. "We thought the ancients were our ancestors, powerful aliens who built everything. We never knew humans had anything to do with it." "But why me?" Jake asked. "I'm just a mechanic. I fix engines. I don't even like plants." Raltak walked toward the wall, touching one of the carvings. It lit up again, showing more scenes. Humans placing their hands on vines, jungles growing instantly, animals obeying them. And at the center, the throne, this chair. They weren't just visitors, Raltak said. They ruled. Or maybe they listened. They became part of the planet. Jake turned back to the chair. So if I sit in it, what happens? Raltak didn't answer. Jake stepped forward, slowly, and placed both hands on the armrests. Nothing happened at first. Then the room trembled. The vines above moved like they were breathing. The walls shifted, opening panels that had been hidden. Glowing dust floated in the air. The chair adjusted itself, reshaping to fit his body. Jake sat. A sharp sting hit the back of his neck. He winced. Lights exploded across the walls. Suddenly, Jake was no longer in the room. His body was still there, but his mind was flying. He saw the entire planet. Green jungles, golden deserts, deep blue oceans, roots running beneath everything like veins. And in the center of the planet, a pulsing heart made of light and tree and energy. It was alive. And now, it was linked to him. You carry the seed, a voice said in his mind. You will guide it or destroy it. Jake gasped, snapping back into the room. He stumbled from the chair, falling to his knees. What did you see? Raltak asked. Jake looked up, pale and shaking. This planet, it's not just alive. It's watching, waiting, and something inside it is waking up. Raltak reached down and helped him up. You're not a prisoner anymore, human. You're something else. Before Jake could respond, the entire room darkened. Not normal darkness, but a black fog, moving like smoke. Then a sound echoed through the chamber. Footsteps. Not from the entrance, but from behind the wall. Raltak raised his blade. Jake picked up a broken metal rod again. A new figure stepped out of the shadows. An alien, tall, thin, and smiling. His armor was sleek and black, with red lights across the chest. Behind him, 2 more aliens followed, both holding strange rifles. Well, the leader said. The jungle opens her arms for a stinking human. How? Disappointing. Raltak stepped forward. Who are you? Just someone cleaning up loose ends, the alien said. Your prisoner wasn't supposed to make it this far. Jake stared at him. You framed me. The alien smiled wider. Of course I did. You were just a tool, bait to draw attention away from the real plan. What plan? Raltak growled. The alien's eyes flashed. To awaken the guardian tree and kill it. Its power can fuel ships for centuries, cities for millennia. Jake shook his head. You can't kill it. It's not a machine. It's life itself. Life can be harvested, the alien replied. Everything can be harvested. He raised a small glowing cube and pointed it at Jake. The vines in the room tensed, then struck. They moved faster than bullets, wrapping around the alien and his guards, throwing them hard into the wall. Their weapons dropped, useless. The throne room pulsed with light again. The jungle chose, Raltak whispered. Jake looked around, breathing hard. Then we better protect it. Behind them, the floor opened, revealing stairs leading deeper. Toward the heart of Varnak. Toward the truth. Toward the final battle. Trial of the mind and heart. The stairs led into a tunnel made of smooth stone and glowing vines. The deeper Jake and Raltak went, the quieter everything became. Not even the jungle whispered now. It was like the planet was holding its breath. You feel that? Jake asked, his voice barely a whisper. Yes, Raltak replied. The jungle is watching. At the bottom of the stairs, they reached a wide chamber. The walls were covered in thick roots, some pulsing slowly like they had a heartbeat. In the center stood a round platform, raised slightly from the floor. 2 stone pillars stood on each side of it. Etched into the ground were words neither of them could read. But as Jake stepped closer, the symbols changed, shifting, glowing, until they became English. He read them out loud. To guard the living world, one must first face what is dead within. A low hum filled the air. Then the platform began to glow. Suddenly, Jake and Raltak were surrounded by light. The walls disappeared. The floor vanished. They were floating in a strange empty space, white and endless. "Where are we?" Jake asked. "Not in the jungle anymore," Raltak replied. "This is a trial." "Trial?" Jake frowned. "What kind of trial?" Before Raltak could answer, the space around them changed again. Jake found himself standing in the hallway of a space station. Cold, clean, silent. A memory. His memory. He turned and saw his younger self, barely 20, in a pilot's suit, laughing with his brother, Nate. They walked down the corridor, helmets in hand. Nate was older, stronger, always confident. "This can't be real," Jake whispered. But it felt real. He tried to move forward, but his body wouldn't listen. He was watching, not living. The memory continued. Nate and Jake got into their shuttle, joking about flight paths and music playlists. Then, sudden alarms, a system failure, flames. Jake tried to override the controls, but it was too late. The shuttle crashed into a moon's surface, and only Jake survived. "It was my fault," he whispered. The memory faded. He was alone in the white space again, on his knees, tears in his eyes. "You carry guilt," the voice said. It echoed from all around. "You run from it, hide it, but still, it lives inside you." "What do you want from me?" Jake shouted. "I know I failed. I know." "We want your truth," the voice replied. "To protect life, you must forgive your past." Jake stood slowly. He looked into the empty air. "I miss you, Nate," he whispered. "I'm sorry." The light grew brighter. And then, it vanished. Raltak stood in a burning battlefield. He knew this place. He was 16. His village had been attacked by rebels, traitors who wanted to burn the old laws. His father, a proud commander, had given him one task: protect your mother and sister. But he had frozen. When the fire came, when the shots rang out, he had hidden in a bunker, alone. And when the smoke cleared, his family was gone. He had survived, but never forgave himself. Now, in this strange glowing world, he watched his younger self cry behind metal doors while screams echoed above. "Coward," he whispered. "You hid while they died." Then a soft voice spoke behind him. "No, you were just a child." Raltak turned and saw his mother, her face calm, eyes warm. "You couldn't stop the fire, but you've spent your life saving others since. Isn't that enough?" Raltak clenched his fists. "I swore to never fail again." "Then protect this world," she said, not from fear, but from strength. The light around him shifted and faded. Jake and Raltak opened their eyes at the same time. They were back in the chamber. The vines on the walls moved softly now, no longer tense. In the center of the room, a door slowly opened. This time, the jungle didn't resist. It welcomed. "We passed," Jake said quietly. "We were judged," Raltak replied, "by the planet itself." They stepped through the new door and entered a massive dome-shaped space. At the center of this new chamber was a floating sphere, like a heart made of light, tree bark, and ancient crystal. Glowing veins pulsed from it, running through the walls, the ceiling, and deep into the ground. "This is it," Jake said. "The guardian heart." A soft hum came from the sphere. "Do you feel that?" Jake asked. Raltak nodded. "It's alive. It knows we're here." Then the hum turned into words. Not spoken, but felt. "You are chosen, but you are not alone." As they stared at the heart, something flickered behind them. The alien smuggler, the one who tried to kill Jake, stepped into the chamber with a weapon in hand. His armor was cracked, his face bloody, but his eyes burned with rage. "You're not taking this," he hissed. "This power belongs to no one." Jake stepped forward. "You don't understand. It's not power, it's life." Then life ends today, the smuggler said, raising his gun. Before he could shoot, the roots in the chamber came alive, slamming into him, wrapping his body, holding him in midair. But this time, the jungle didn't kill. It showed him his own memories, his childhood, his pain, his hate. And then, the jungle let him go. He fell to the floor, shaking, crying. The vines moved away. Even he got a second chance, Jake whispered. Rahaltak looked at him. This planet doesn't destroy. It teaches. Then the guardian heart pulsed again, brighter than ever. And a beam of light shot upward, through the jungle, the sky, the clouds, into space. A signal, a warning, a beginning. The true enemy revealed. The beam of light shot into the sky like a signal from the soul of the planet. It tore through roots and stone, cutting across clouds and stars. Everything it touched glowed for a moment, as if remembering something ancient. Jake and Rahaltak stood beneath it in silence. The guardian heart hovered above the chamber floor, pulsing slowly. Vines moved gently in the air like they were breathing. Peace settled over the jungle for the first time since their fall. But far above, in the cold silence of space, others were watching. Aboard the command ship Black Wraith, General Meyer stood with his hands behind his back. He was not like Rahaltak. His armor was black and smooth, with red energy lines running down his arms. His face was pale and sharp, his eyes dead like glass. When the pulse from planet Varnak reached them, the ship trembled slightly. The crew froze. A red alert blinked. Guardian signal detected, a voice announced. Origin. Deep core of Varnak. General Meyer smiled slowly. Finally, after all these years, orders, sir, the second-in-command asked. Assemble the harvest fleet, he said coldly. Prepare to extract the heart. But, sir, what about the jungle defenses? This time, Meyer replied, we burn everything. On the surface of Varnak, Jake and Rahaltak stood near the guardian heart, unaware that a fleet was already moving toward them. The smuggler sat quietly against the wall. He didn't try to run. His eyes were distant, like he was no longer the same person. He's broken, Jake said softly. No, Rahaltak replied. He's seeing. The vines near the heart moved again. Slowly, a small piece detached from the core, floating toward Jake. It was a glowing crystal seed, no larger than a pebble. Jake caught it in his hands. The warmth in it made his fingers tingle. This is a piece of the Guardian, Rahaltak said. A key, or maybe a choice. Suddenly, the air shifted. The room darkened. A loud boom echoed from above. They ran outside, into the broken jungle, and saw the sky burning. Black ships descended like falling knives. They pierced through clouds and trees, setting entire sections of jungle on fire. The air turned red. Birds scattered. Creatures screamed. What is that? Jake asked, stunned. Rahaltak stared at the sky. The real enemy. But who? General Meyer, leader of the Imperial extractors. They destroy worlds, rip out life, sell it to the highest bidder. Why Varnak? Because this planet has the strongest heart in the galaxy. Another boom. A shockwave hit the ground, knocking Jake backward. A ship landed nearby, sleek, black, and deadly. A group of soldiers stepped out, dressed in dark armor, their rifles humming with energy. Rahaltak grabbed Jake's arm. Run. We can't run. Not now. We're not ready. We don't have to fight them alone, Jake said. He knelt near the vines and pressed the glowing seed to the ground. For a second, nothing. Then the ground began to tremble. From deep within the roots, the jungle answered. Trees moved. Vines rose. Animals gathered. Giant beasts, bird swarms, glowing insects. The jungle had an army. And Jake was its voice. The first wave of extractors charged through the jungle, burning everything in their path. But the forest pushed back. Roots lifted soldiers off the ground. Thorn branches tore through metal. Fire melted guns. Jake ran alongside the creatures, shouting warnings and commands. He didn't know how, but the jungle understood him. Raltak fought with blade and fist, protecting the heart chamber. His armor cracked. His arm bled. But he didn't stop. "We hold the line," he shouted. Then, from the smoke, General Meyer appeared. He walked calmly through fire, untouched. His armor shimmered. His eyes locked on Jake. "So you're the seed bearer," he said. "Leave this planet," Jake said. "You can't protect it," Meyer replied. "You're just human. And you're just afraid." Meyer smirked. "You don't understand. The Guardian's energy can power 100 worlds. Your life, your jungle, is a small price." He raised his weapon. Before he could fire, Raltak tackled him. The two crashed into the mud, fighting hand-to-hand like beasts. Meyer's strength was unnatural. He threw Raltak across a tree and stepped toward Jake again. "Give me the seed." Jake held it tightly. "No." "Then I take it." Meyer lunged, but the jungle responded faster. Vines burst from the ground and wrapped around him. He screamed, struggling, but they tightened. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes. "You think the jungle belongs to you," Jake said, "but it doesn't even belong to me. It belongs to itself." The vines pulled Meyer backward, into the trees. Then silence. The fire faded. The air cooled. The jungle stood tall again. Hours later, as the sun set over the battered trees, Raltak and Jake sat near the guardian heart. Birds sang softly. The smuggler had vanished. No one saw him leave. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "The jungle heals," Raltak said, "and waits." "For what?" "For someone to protect it again. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe 1,000 years from now." Jake looked at the glowing seed in his hand. "Or maybe someone just protects it every day." He walked to the heart and gently placed the seed back where it came from. The light grew stronger, and then calm. Raltak stood beside him. "You're not a prisoner, Jake Carter." "What am I then?" "You're part of something ancient, something alive." Above them, the stars returned. But somewhere, beyond those stars, others had seen the signal too. And not all of them were kind. The human key. 3 days had passed since the jungle war. The vines had stopped moving. The fires were out. The creatures had returned to their nests. And for the first time in a long while, the planet Varnak was quiet. But this silence was not empty. It was sacred. In the guardian chamber, Jake Carter stood at the center of the glowing room. Above him, the heart pulsed slowly like a sleeping star. The warmth coming off it no longer felt strange. It felt like home. Raltak stood beside him, his arm in a sling, his armor scratched and bent. "The jungle accepted you," he said quietly. "But now, the galaxy will come." Jake nodded. "We sent a message without meaning to. And not all who hear it will be friends." Jake looked down at his hands. They still glowed faintly, like the Guardian's light had touched him, and never left. He didn't know what he had become. Not exactly. He still felt like a mechanic from Earth, just a guy who liked to fix things. But now, he was something more. Up in orbit, the first diplomatic ships had arrived. Not warships, not pirates, but observers, scientists from neutral planets, elders from peaceful alliances, reporters from 3 different sectors. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What was the Guardian of Varnak? And who was the human that awakened it? Raltak stood at the top of the jungle cliffs and spoke on Jake's behalf. "He is not a god," the sheriff said. "He is not a weapon. He is not your new resource. He is a guest, a protector, chosen not because of power, but because of heart." But not everyone believed that. Deep in the shadows of a floating city orbiting Varnak, a private council met. Rich leaders, shipbuilders, empire architects. They watched the reports from the jungle with cold eyes. "We lost General Meyer," one of them said. "And 100 elite soldiers," said another. "To a man with no rank, no title, no empire. A human." They looked at each other in silence. Finally, the oldest among them spoke. "Then we do not fight him," he said. "We do not send ships. We do not attack." "Then what do we do?" The old man smiled. "We invite him." Back on Varnock, Jake was walking through the jungle paths again. Now the plants moved out of his way. The animals didn't run. The forest trusted him. And he was starting to trust it too. Rahaltak followed slowly, still limping. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Back to the ruins," Jake said. "I saw something there. Before the heart. I think it was meant for me." They reached the old stone chamber, the place where Jake had first activated the ancient throne. But now, a new path had opened behind it. A tunnel filled with blue light. They entered together. At the end, a single door stood open. Inside was a small room. Nothing but a pedestal. On it, a book. Written in English. Jake picked it up and opened it. The pages were soft, glowing faintly. The words were handwritten. And at the top of the first page, "To the next human who finds this, you're not alone." His heart stopped. He turned the pages, story after story. Entries written by humans from the past. Explorers, guardians, travelers. People who had once come to Varnock, thousands of years ago. Each one left a piece of their journey. And each one ended with a choice. Stay or return. He looked up at Rahaltak, who had been reading over his shoulder. "This planet remembers," Rahl said. "Your kind was here before." "But we forgot," Jake whispered. "Or you were made to forget." He closed the book. Then the vines moved again, gently placing a new piece of crystal near the pedestal. A message from the guardian. "Make your choice." That night, Jake stood beneath the stars with the book in his arms. The jungle pulsed around him, full of life. Ships floated in the sky, watching, waiting. A voice echoed in his mind. Calm, gentle, alive. "The galaxy is changing, and you are the first light of that change." Jake closed his eyes. He saw Earth, his old home. The smell of oil and engine grease. His tiny apartment. His broken tools. The laughter of friends long gone. A world that had left him behind. And then he saw Varnock. The roots, the light, the whispers, and the choice. He looked at the sky one last time, then turned away, and walked deeper into the jungle. 5 years later, planet Varnock became a protected world. No ships entered without permission. No weapons crossed its orbit. It was guarded, not by an army, but by stories. They said the jungle listened. They said the vines moved when lies were spoken. They said the roots could grow into space, and at the center of it all, a man, a human. Some called him a myth. Others called him the Forest King. But those who had seen him with their own eyes said he was just a man in worn clothes, with soft eyes and dirty hands. A man who spoke to trees. And the trees listened. His name was Jake Carter, and he had chosen to stay, not to be worshipped, not to be remembered, but to protect the thing that could not protect itself.